the Pahad family, Professor Parekh, Deputy Minister, DG, Mrs. Mbeki Sisanele, senior officials, excellencies, ambassadors, and high commissioners, all speakers who've spoken today, guests, and dear choir. You've been really amazing. Thank you very, very much. I would like to begin by saying Comrade Aziz was a fierce proponent of an independent foreign policy for South Africa. We remember him for many initiatives that he led during his 14 years in this department. One particular initiative is his prominent role in South Africa's ambitious endeavor to stop a US-led attack on Iraq. Before the outbreak of the war in Iraq, he shuttled between Pretoria and Baghdad, trying to convince President Saddam Hussein to cooperate with the UN's weapons inspectors. He strategized for many months on how to avert regime change in Iraq, but the forces of neo-imperialism unfortunately won the day. But above all else, Comrade Aziz was a principled champion for human rights, especially of the oppressed and marginalized. From Palestine to Western Sahara, he spoke for the voiceless and was unwavering in his implementation of South Africa's foreign policy, which recognizes the right to self-determination. And I wish to assure Professor van Niekerk that we continue to follow in that tradition. His work on promoting a two-state solution with Israel and Palestine, and his lobbying against the Israeli apartheid wall at the International Court of Justice are among his greatest legacies. He was South Africa's face at the International Court of Justice when South Africa argued strongly against Israel's erection of the apartheid wall on Palestinian land. At the time, he told the court, the Palestinian separation wall is not a security wall. It is a wall of occupation, a wall that has separated hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their families, their homes, lands, and religious sites. One of the things that has been said about him is Comrade Aziz was a fantastic debater, and I must say a disciplined representative in Parliament who always honored his speaking assignments in the National Assembly. As has been said, he served as a special envoy for peace in the Middle East for 3 years in the period 2014 and 2017. He played a very important role in South Africa's attempt to revive the Middle East peace process. Unfortunately, when the special envoys went to Tel Aviv, Prime Minister Netanyahu refused to meet the special envoys on 2 occasions. Had perhaps Prime Minister Netanyahu been wiser, we may have been having peace between Palestine and Israel today. If Deputy Minister Aziz Pahad was with us today, he surely would have been devastated by the threatened genocide in the Gaza Strip. For years, many have held the view that eventually reason is going to prevail in that region. And many of us continue to hold to the belief that the forces of compromise might emerge and a negotiated settlement might be found, despite the numerous obstacles and controversies surrounding the final status issues. I am glad that Comrade Aziz never got to see the continual bombardment of the citizens of Gaza going into the 11th day today. A bombardment that is wreaking untold devastation and suffering on people who only wish to live in freedom in their land. As Israeli tanks prepared to roll into northern Gaza as part of a plan of genocide to rid Gaza of its people and push them into the Sinai desert, Comrade Aziz would have surely have been livid and unrelenting in his condemnation, as unrelenting as all of us should be. As a person who championed the anti-apartheid cause in London and participated in countless demonstrations and solidarity campaigns, he would have hailed the support of the British people who have gone out into the streets in their thousands to raise their voices in solidarity with the people of Palestine. He would have condemned the British government for their silence on occupation and on the colonial settler project, and for having seemingly become an enabler by not only providing political cover for Israel's action, but by stationing Royal Navy ships off the coast to ensure there is no pushback against this campaign of terror. Comrade Aziz would have railed in fury and disbelief that the British authorities could suggest that any Briton who raises a Palestinian flag will be arrested. It was a dark day in Britain's democracy when the UK Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, she who is not brave, told senior police officers that waving a Palestinian flag or singing a chant advocating freedom for Arabs in the region may be a criminal offense. Unbelievable. The British people have drowned out such insanity by taking to the streets of London in the tens of thousands, waving the Palestinian flag in defiance. And we in South Africa need to join them. What has been most disappointing in the past 11 days has been the conspiracy of silence amongst countries we consider friends, who have not had the backbone to speak out against what Israel is doing. I'm talking about friendly countries in both Europe and the Arab world. It is inexplicable that we've not heard any stinging rebuke coming from the international community for Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign, although the rebuke of Hamas by many has been deafening. The carnage that is still unfolding will ensure that the world is never the same again. And history is going to judge us all harshly if we do not act to stop these crimes against humanity and gross violations of international humanitarian law and the various Geneva Conventions. The time for hand-wringing and sitting on the wall is over. It is time to stand up and be counted so that our children know we stood on the right side of history. We need to show the Palestinian people in our millions that they are not alone. Freedom for Palestinians will mean peace for Israel and peace for the Middle East. Comrade Pahad repeatedly emphasized the need for negotiations and compromise in conflict situations. He also ensured that the African continent was the cornerstone of our foreign policy, and it remains so today. In Africa, he played an active role in bringing about peace between warring factions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he was particularly active during the Sun City dialogue. For him, these assignments were not just part of the job. He said at the time that he was driven by a belief that a better South Africa, Africa, and world could be achieved. And these are words that he repeated every time he made an important foreign policy speech, including in 2007 to the Institute of International Affairs, driven by a belief that a better South Africa, Africa, and world is achievable. He was very quick to brush aside accusations that South Africa was trying to punch above its weight. He responded by saying people must realize that we are a major economic power in Africa. It is our responsibility to use this power in the interest of Africa. We are not punching above our weight. We are conscious of what is achievable by a country like South Africa. Later, he became the special envoy for our candidature to the UN Security Council. And again, he gave a very important speech in Cape Town where he outlined what our presence and membership of the Security Council would mean. He had, in the course of that lobbying process, warned that the international community might be sleepwalking its way into a global conflict without understanding that there can be no victors in a future world war. His words have become more prescient today than any of us could have imagined. In April 2021, when the University of Pretoria conferred an honorary doctorate of literature on him, his contributions to local and international peace, security, justice, and international solidarity were being acknowledged. The university said, Pahad's contributions and approach to diplomacy bring strong moral convictions, careful judgment, and above all, a quiet, influential determination in the search for solutions to South Africa's challenges. At the Ubuntu Awards organized by DIRCO in February last year, Comrade Pahad was awarded the OR Tambo Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of his contribution to a South Africa that is free and democratic, and a world that has become increasingly just and fair in many parts of the world. On behalf of all South African diplomats at home and abroad, and all freedom-loving people, we in DIRCO extend once more our deepest condolences to the Pahad family. It must be really, really hard to lose two significant personalities like Esop Pahad and Aziz Pahad. I think Esop had a quiet pride in Aziz, although he often treated him like he was really quite off his rocker. You know, he'd say like, "Uchini wena," you know, to Aziz when Aziz tried to speak, and Aziz would patiently, you know, speak and explain whatever point he was making in a cabinet committee or indeed in a cabinet meeting. We wish, as DIRCO, that the indomitable spirit of Comrade Aziz will continue to guide our country as we work hard to create and realize that wish for a better South Africa, a better Africa, and a better world. And all we say to the family is that we wish that the Almighty would have mercy on his soul and permit him to rest in peace. And we thank each and every one of you for being here today. For me, not to mourn, but to celebrate a wonderful, great South African leader. I thank you very much.